Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have a subscriber interview. He is, or was, an animal control officer and had some very interesting experiences as an animal control officer. Before we get into that interview, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it definitely matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? All right, guys, a couple of days ago, I had narrated a subscriber named Hannibal's experience. It was a Sasquatch encounter. He, while we talked, shared that he had other experiences in that email. And I reached out to him, and we've got a really interesting and pretty terrifying interview. Let's get into that. All right, everybody. Today I have a subscriber named Hannibal. I had just recently, a couple days ago, shared his experience with us all. I narrated it. I have him on the show today. Hannibal, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good, brother.
Thank you for taking some time out of your evening to spend with us. Now, we talked for a little while prior to the interview and got to know each other a little bit. I know that you're going to kind of recap on the first experience that I shared with everybody, but you've got some other stuff that you want to share. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I don't know these experiences, and I think that's the best way to go about it. So the mic is yours, my friend, and feel free to share how you want to.
Okay. So I was an animal control officer for 8 years. Carried a gun and a badge. We did everything domestic to wildlife. We dealt with animals. We did, cruelty investigations. You know, if somebody was harming their animals and dog fights, stuff like that. But anyway, that story, I got called out for a injured deer on a trail in a forest. Probably about 2 miles in. It was starting to get dark when I got there, trekked in, found the deer. The deer was down in a really shallow creek bed, and its neck was visibly broken. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, well, how the hell could this have happened? The deer's neck was almost, turned, go facing the other way. And it was laying on its side in the creek bed.
Right.
And I was just like, there's no way this deer could have just fell and done this. It was only like a little 3-foot drop into the creek or something like that. So I go to put the deer down, and I noticed, like, right before I take my shot, I'm like smelling a funky smell, real musty body odor, swampy kind of, mixed with a little bit of like roadkill kind of smell. Okay. But I put the deer down, and as soon as I put the deer down, something yelled like a wild man. Like, probably, it felt like it might have been maybe 40 feet away, the yell. And I looked up, gun drawn, and peeking behind a tree, which this was closer. It was like about 20 feet away. I see like red eye shine, And I'm like, what the hell? And I pull my flashlight up, and it darted back behind the tree and growled like it got pissed off that I put the flashlight in its face. So I didn't get that good of a look at the face, but I saw the hand, its hand gripping the tree, and kind of like a gorilla's hand. You know, it was like gray, kind of like a gray tint of skin,
like a leathery kind of.
I mean, it looked like an ape's,
right.
You know, an ape's hand. Is the best way I could describe it. And I knew at that point I was not dealing with nothing normal here. And I tried to track back 2 miles back to my work vehicle, try to get out of there as fast as I could without running, because I just had that feeling like if I took off running, that was it. This thing was pissed off. It didn't want me there. And I'm pretty sure that it was the one that maybe broke this deer's neck, and maybe it was pissed off that I shot. I don't know. I have no clue.
Right.
But it chased me. Like, I heard footfalls the whole way back, man. It was tense. It was tense. I think at one point, I think I had yelled, you know, I'm an officer. I got a firearm. Whatever these things were, they followed me up out of there. They didn't give a shit. Excuse my French. I got back to the vehicle. I peeled up out of there when I got off that trail. Went to the ranger station, and I told the rangers, you know, there was some crazies out there yelling, hooping, and hollering at me, growling and crap. And they, you know, the one guy kind of carried on, started laughing. The other guy, stone cold face, like he didn't even really crack a smile. And once the other guy kind of settled down, it was the older guy was like, you know, they aren't crazy people, man. You know, they're Sasquatch. And I looked at him like, are you, you know, kind of like, are you serious? Like, I kind of knew what I was dealing with, but I, you know, didn't know if they were, you know, messing with me or if they were serious.
Yeah.
But then the other guy was, you know, laughed at first. You know, he was like, no, really, we don't go out there at night because how territorial they are. Like, they've chased us off a few times. One guy said he's fired a shot. So
wow.
That's that story.
So that, like, pretty much just at that point, I mean, I don't know how prior to that experience whether you believed in them or not, but at that point.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you anyway. You know, my family is Porch Creek Band of Indian, so
yeah.
My mother's aunt used to talk about Sasquatch, Dogman.
Yeah.
Back before people were really talking about Dogman, so I was
really,
aware.
Yeah, that made it solid though for you. Really quick, I just want to say something that you and I talked, and I had made a comment a while ago, and you are one of the very few people that actually kind of solidified this statement that I had heard when I was younger from my family who are Native American. And, you know, I was told that there was a tribe of dogmen that not literally, but figuratively walked hand in hand with Native people across the Bering Strait when it was a land bridge. And you had, you know, pretty much stated the same thing. And I was like, wow, that really, you know, I've never heard someone say that. Yeah.
Well, my aunts, they traded with us. They were very civilized back then. Some of them wore clothes. They used weapons. Yeah. They understood They understood language, apparently, and they helped us fight off some things too.
Yeah. It was really cool just to get, because you hear something, you know, years, and then you're just like, you don't forget it, but then you don't hear anybody ever say anything about it. You hear, you know, these stories of Alexander the Great meeting them or Christopher Columbus, and then, you know, then you and I talk and you're like, yeah, check this out. And I was like, whoa, hey, this is what I heard. So yeah, definitely cool. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. The mic's back to you, so sorry.
Oh, no problem. Another story I want to share, it involved 3 of us officers. this story really, it goes back to when I was younger, man. So I'm gonna start there. So when I was about 20 years old, I was hanging out with about 6 friends, and they like to go, check out, haunted stuff, right? And there's this supposed, this like park area, this trail. It supposedly was, the urban legend that the kids talked about. Apparently, a girl was murdered by her boyfriend, and one of those stories. They say, oh, if you sit there on the trail, that you'll see fog pop up and all that stuff like that.
Right.
Well, we went out to this place. I'm not even going to say the name of this place because this place is active and it's dangerous. Maybe I'll share it with you, but I don't want to name this place. But we got out of the vehicle. We got there. First of all, we pulled up to this park, and it's closed off. You're not legally supposed to be there. But we were young and stupid, and we were driving down this road that leads to this park, and the park is gated off. And you look to the right, and there's this big field, and all I see is eye shine everywhere. And like I'm a city boy, so my heart dropped. I'm thinking I'm seeing monsters at first, but then the headlights hit them. It's just a bunch of deer out there, and it's a bunch of fog out there with the deer. I'm like, wow, that's still a little weird. We get on the trail, and first thing that happened is we saw like a white figure. Like, it was too far away to tell. It was maybe somebody wearing a white gown or something. They kind of like crossed the trail in front of us, maybe, I don't know, 100 feet away or something. And we're like, what the hell was that? And nothing really else happened that night, but we got up out of there because when we walked to the end of the trail, a big plume of fog like hit the trail, and we all kind of got freaked out and left. Well, we came back maybe a year later, and it was a bunch of us again, and we get to the halfway point of this trail, and there's this big bush that's sitting in the middle of the trail. I mean, you can't even see through it, and it doesn't even look like it's supposed to be there. We never saw it before, and it's just sitting there. We walk up on it like, this is a little weird. All of a sudden, growling, like deep, nasty growling, and the bush starts shaking, right? 3 of my guys immediately, boom, they're gone like the flash. I mean, they left us behind. So 3 of us are sitting there. Whatever this thing is behind this big bush is growling, and I'm like, hey, I had a firearm on me at the time. I said, hey, I have a gun, and it didn't acknowledge that, and then the bush literally started moving towards us, and I mag dumped. Okay, I dumped into this bush, and guess what? The bush kept growling and shaking, and then whatever was sitting behind this thing had to be the one holding it up. And at that point, me and the other guy that were remaining, because everybody else left us, we took off running. I'm running and shooting. All of a sudden, we're hearing big, heavy footfalls behind us. Boom, 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 boom. We got back in. We ran back to the car, peeled up out of there. And don't you know, years later, I'm working as animal control, and I get caught out there for a dead animal in a tree to this very same trail years later as an older adult. And I get there, and right outside the trail, there's a dog that's been twisted up in a tree. Now, I don't mean like how, like a mountain lion sometimes will drag an animal up in the tree and it'll be kind of like slung over a tree or something like that. No, something like tied its legs. Oh my God. It was, like a pretzel to the tree, like a small dog.
Wow.
And I had no idea what could have done this. I'm thinking some sick person probably did this.
Right.
But I'm on this trail that I had a bad experience on years ago, so I'm real leery. look around. I was really no proof of anything, so I left. Got called back out there again, and maybe I can get one of the officers that experienced this with me to call in to verify this with you. But this time, I called back up. I'm like, oh, I'm not going back out there. Let somebody else needs to experience whatever the hell's going on. And once again, all three of us get there, and in the same freaking region, not the same tree, there's another dog hanging by a tree. So, you know, it's starting to get dark. We say, all right, well, we're just going to walk the trail. And this, you know, I don't scare easy. I've been in a lot of situations, but this is probably the first time and the only time in my life I've started to feel terror. And maybe you could explain, or maybe, you know, some of the listeners could explain what maybe this could have been, because I don't have a clue, you know, what I experienced. But we walk the trail. All of a sudden, we see a shadow, and it's already dark, and we're in a wooded area. Whatever this thing is big, and it's darker than dark. I mean, it's black as night. And it peeks out into the trail, kind of steps out into the trail, and kind of darts back off to the left, like back into the woods. I'm like, what the hell? So, you know, we walk up closer, and another shadow pops up, and it's right by this drop into this real shallow creek, but the drop is like, I don't know, like it's a good 8-foot drop down into the creek. We see one of these shadows over there by the by this embankment or whatever, and I run towards it, and it jumped off into the creek, but I didn't hear a splash or nothing. And I look where it was standing by a real scrawny looking tree, and I'm looking where the head reached, and I'm like, damn, this thing has got to be 8 foot tall, whatever it is.
Wow.
But here's the thing about it. I got a good look at this thing, and I couldn't tell you what color it was. I couldn't tell you if it had fur. It was lean. It wasn't like a big boxy Sasquatch either. It was tall, and it was lean, and it was blacker than night. And this keeps happening. This thing, whatever these things are, they're popping in and out of the woods. We're hearing chattering, like children chattering, like, you know, like almost like in the distance, like kids chattering or something.
Okay.
Weirdest sound. It's the only sound that I heard.
Like it, not like a baby crying, but like
no,
kids talking, or
like
gibberish.
Some teenagers in the distance talking. You know.
Okay.
Bunch of teens or something, like.
But nothing you could make out. You couldn't make
no,
out. So
it
was almost like a gibberish, but like how kids sound, like a high pitch, not like an adult. But
and I meant to say that we were hearing this sound before we even got on the trail. We were starting to hear this, like, you know, chatter. You know, like a bunch of people are talking.
Wow.
In a distance. Well, we finally, I mean, we got our guns drawn. We're freaking out. I'm behind a tree because these things are popping. I can't even explain to you how terrifying this was. How these things were just in and out of the woods, getting closer and closer. We turn around and we hightail it back to our vehicles. And as we're walking back, we're walking, like, it's three of us, and we're walking side by side. And the guy on the far left slams into the ground in front of us. I mean, hard. Like a linebacker hitting from the back. And I immediately drew my gun again, and I'm turning around. I don't see anything. And he gets back up, and he's pissed. And he's kind of a skeptic. Like, he's freaked out just like me and the other guy are. But he's in denial, you know, like he's thinking like this has got to be somebody playing tricks on us. And he gets up and he's all pissed, and he's thinking that one of us pushed him down. I'm like, we're all walking side by side. How could we have pushed you down that hard? And we got back up, or we got him back up, and we got in our vehicles and got the hell out of there, and we didn't go back. That was probably like the creepiest situation I'd ever been in while on duty.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's... What did you have any kind of speculation of what this thing could have been? Like, with the other people that were there, did you guys kind of talk about...
The one guy that got pushed, like I said, he believes that in weird stuff, man, but he was so, like when I found that letter, he was so freaked out.
Uh-huh.
We all were, because, at 1 minute we're thinking, oh, there's hunters messing with us, but that clearly wasn't the case when we would see how these things were popping in and out and disappearing on us, or whatever was going on. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's insane.
I want to know how the hell my buddy got pushed
right
like that, and we're walking side by side. One of us would have saw somebody run up and push him.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything.
Wow.
There's something out there. I remember I met an old guy, and he told me, yeah, there's a family of Bigfoot that the families that live behind that trail are protecting. This old guy told me this. I don't know about that. Whatever these things were, unless Bigfoot has that kind of ability, I've never known of.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of speculation for what they could have been.
That's really
I don't
strange.
think they were ghosts. They weren't spirits. They were physical, but for some reason, black as tar, just black.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, people have heard spirits and, poltergeists making physical contact, but
True.
I mean, these things had some sort of, a different kind of physical presence,
Yeah,
to be able to tie a
I promise
dog,
you, like it definitely was not some, ethereal, being. This thing was solid.
Yeah.
Whatever these things were, they were solid. They were bigger than us. Now, at the time, I was 240 pounds. I could bench 350 then. The other guy, he was about 270. He benched more than that. Another guy wasn't a small guy either. We all were big guys, and this thing dwarfed us. I'm just under 6 foot. I think I was probably the tallest guy, but I mean, these things were tall, and they were fast, and we all talked about it later, and we were like, did you get that feeling that whatever you do, don't shoot at it? We all had. I had the feeling like I was, ducked behind a tree, praying that one of the other guys didn't shoot. I had this weird feeling like if you shoot at it, it's going to escalate. It's going to get bad.
Wow.
It was like the most dreadful, ominous kind of feeling that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Like, obviously, it's got to be.
And I'm an artist. Like, I used to, when I was young, I used to draw comic books and all that stuff. But I went to school for graphic design, and I remember somebody told me, why don't you draw some of the stuff you see? Like, well, I'd just be drawing a big shadow.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like that was the same thing that was in the bush? Like, is that, like, from when you were younger?
Probably.
Yeah. That's pretty intense. And
man, like there's guys, man, I'm telling you, like when we encountered that thing, whatever the thing was holding up that bush, man, I shot 12 rounds of 9mm into the bush. Then, I reloaded and was firing while running. And it was dark, at the point where I was running and shooting, I wasn't bothering to try to see anything, but we heard something running after, so I knew that whatever it was, there's no way it could have dodged everything behind that that I put into that bush. So, well,
that's pretty intense, man. Yeah. And like,
we never found out what was going on out there.
Did you ever get the dogs down? The
oh yeah, we got them down and got the.
Was there any kind of markings on them?
Well, that's the thing. I guess I should have spoke about that. No, there was no bite marks or anything, but they
Mm.
were terribly mutilated. I mean, they were twisted up like pretzels each time, twisted up on the tree. I don't know. I think one little might have been like a poor little Pomeranian or something, Pomeranian, and can't remember what the other dog was. It was like a long-legged dog, and its legs too, was wrapped around the branch. Never seen anything like that. Very weird.
Hmm.
The whole experience, I didn't smell anything weird. Like I've had encounters where I've experienced what I thought was a Bigfoot, and I've smelled them. Like the time it told you the experience where I was after I put the deer down. Like I could smell that thing. It smelled the high hell.
Hmm.
Whatever this was, I couldn't smell it, or if it had a smell, I was too spooked to pick up on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's friggin' terrifying. Your buddy getting pushed at the same place.
I mean, he went flying, man. It wasn't no normal push. It was like if you ran at top speed and then slammed into somebody with your whole body. Lay there and let that marinate for a while before he got back up.
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow. That's absolutely terrifying. And
I can tell you about this place, and let me tell you about this. Since I was young, something always has happened when going out there. Even when we were on duty, when I was younger, and I can vouch that there's activity at this place probably all the time. We went back. I told you I did. Me and my coworker at the time, we because of that experience, we got into ghost hunting.
Yep.
Bought all this equipment and everything. Well, we went back, so that should tell you like how like if most people with any sense wouldn't go back to anything like that, but we went back, and we brought our cameras and everything. We got permission from the ranger, and we went back there, and sure enough, man, we had cameras out, and it's like a bridge. Right before the bridge, we weren't even there 10 minutes, and we hear something come flying up that creek bed. We're hearing branches and stuff breaking, and it's the same creek bed, about an 8-foot drop. Whatever this thing was running up that creek bed. Do you hear me? It ran up it, and I flashed my flashlight into the, we all did. We, put our flashlights into the bush to see what the hell was coming up the creek bed, and all I saw was brown fur. Now we don't have grizzlies in Ohio.
Right.
I remember when I was on duty one time, a deputy saw a black bear, but that was near the Indiana state line. So this wasn't no freaking bear, whatever this was.
That's incredible.
So this is the first time that going there that I actually saw something other than blackness, and it was brown fur. And we aimed our guns and was getting ready to fire at that point. And it was like this thing knew and jumped back down, and we heard the loudest splash, man. This thing was heavy. I mean, it was heavy. And it went trucking. It didn't even bother to, like, cross the creek and run off into the woods. It ran straight down the creek, straight down the freaking creek, and then ducked off into the woods. And all I saw was, like, a shape. Like, I managed to, get my head over the embankment and look down into the creek to see, like, a dark shape, kind of duck off into the woods.
Right.
But nope, nobody managed to get a picture.
That's
whatever the hell it was. All I saw was fur. I didn't see a face, eyes, hands, anything.
Is there? I mean, obviously you saw fur, so it's some sort of animal or creature or whatever. But with the other thing, has there ever been any reported like kind of satanic activity out there, like cults and stuff like that in that area?
So we didn't find anything, like even the urban legend of some girl getting hacked up by her boyfriend. That was bull. That didn't happen. There was nothing that we could find that would explain what happened to us.
Yeah, some spots just have that kind of bad energy to it.
Whatever it is,
with
though,
nothing happening there, So
it's pretty damn active. That's all I'll say. It's active.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Wow. Huh. Now, I guess you and I had talked. Now, you had shared a couple of things with me, that your aunt who lived up in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had said, hey, this bear man. Can you explain a little bit about that to everybody?
So one time when
I
I went we went up to Anchorage and visited. I've got a few family members up there, and she used to always, my family thought she was kind of eccentric because she would always talk about the stuff that they didn't want to talk about. Like my grandfather, he wouldn't talk about it, but she would. She would talk about stuff, and one day we sat down and she was telling me about this bear spirit. They say it's a spirit, but it's a physical being, and it's like, I guess any other kind of cryptid. It's a bear man, and she was saying that apparently some of the natives have experienced this thing, and it's almost 20 feet tall, and it walks upright from time to time, and it's like I don't know. That's all she told me about it, like it.
Yeah, that's
she didn't
cool.
tell me anything about it attacking, but she just said that people see it, and it's so damn tall that when it stands up on its hind legs, you see it over the trees.
Over trees, yeah. I love hearing like old.
And it's like people are like, "Oh, how could something like this hide?" Well, they're hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
There's something going on. Like, so I talked to a park ranger one time, and he told me a few really weird stories. Like, he told me about a time they walked the trail, or walking a trail, and got into a clearing, and these trees were uprooted and then slammed back into the ground. If you can picture that.
Yeah.
Imagine uprooting a tree and then slamming it back into the ground by its top. Not
upside down. So the roots were, yeah.
We don't have any. I've looked into this. There's nothing that we have that's flipping trees and slamming them back into the ground, like imagine I'm trying to think of a tree, like I don't know, like a pine tree or something, and being slammed down, bristles and all, everything slammed down upside down into the ground.
Yeah.
What the hell's doing that?
Yeah, and like you said, in Ohio, there is not, like, a black bear isn't going to do that. They're not even strong enough. I mean, they're strong, but they're not strong enough to do anything like that.
Plus, they can't pose their. I just no, they ain't happening. I know big tree, and these are big trees. It's not like some little
flimsy little Christmas.
This is
tree.
like you would think of like the Bible pre-flood giants.
Yeah.
Type of would do this. So there's some frightening stuff going on in the woods, man.
Absolutely.
And if you can ever, some of those rangers, the park rangers, will tell you some stuff, man. I've been told some stuff.
Yeah.
Some very weird stuff.
You brought up an interesting point, and you and I talked about this too, which was cool. Like people with this bear man, where would something like that hide? Yada yada. People doubt that. Like, I had said to you, where my town is in upstate New York, there are bear in the woods. Now, people who live in town would never see one unless it came into the village and climbed a telephone pole. We know that bear exists, but how often do we see a bear? So if we know these things exist, how often are we going to see? It's very, it's kind of common sense that you don't see wild animals and creatures that live in the wilderness are expert at camouflage, expert hiders.
And they can smell us coming.
Yeah, especially a predator. A prey, not so much, but a predator would be that's how they have to live anyway, to hunt. So it's very it's common sense when people say, oh, why don't we see more of them? Well, because why don't we see more bear then? It's.
I think these cryptids have somewhere to go, though. I really do. I think they're going underground. Yeah. There's so many caves. Like I can't tell you how many times I visited Mammoth Cave as a kid. My parents used to take me. And have you ever visited Mammoth Cave in Kentucky?
No, but it's a hot spot supposedly.
Man, my father told me stories that.
I heard
so my father's a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, the north side is supposed to be the bad part over there.
Okay, well, my father told me stories that they supposedly removed giant remains out of Mammoth Cave many years ago, and it was in the news and newspaper and everything. And Smithsonian
disappeared in Smithsonian. Yeah,
it was literally the Smithsonian popped up to verify something and gone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a guy.
There's plenty of places. People don't realize how many places they can hide. There's so many places that these things can hide.
Yeah, there's a guy named J.C. Brown, and he was back in the 1800s. He was like an explorer, and he had started exploring around Mount Shasta in California and looking at old mines and stuff, and went into one of these caves. Well, and this is in the news. People can look this up on the internet. And J.C. Brown discovered all of these large, 8, 9, 10 foot human skeletons with stories from Native Americans saying that these people were an ancient race of, native people killed, and, they were supposedly, I guess, killed by other native, because they were big and they were aggressive.
They were cannibals.
Yeah, and killed in these caves. I mean, that's the easiest way. Fight them. Pin them down in their cave, and when they try to come out, kill them or starve them to death.
Yeah, they lit the. Well, I know with Lovelock, they put pitch and lit it, and they burned them out.
Yeah, yeah. And Smithsonian came in, and those skeletons were on display. I believe there's pictures of it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And now we can't find
any of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how the government works, and they are the shadiest. So
yeah. And people don't realize how much stuff gets covered up on a daily basis. Let me share another story. It's not my story. It's my buddy. Before I had started working, it was like maybe a year before I had started, my partner was telling me a story about how he was on the highway, and there was another officer that was farther up the highway. They were in traffic, and my buddy called ahead on the radio, find out what was causing this sudden traffic jam on the highway. And he noticed that he saw a military helicopter flying over the highway. A big, I don't know what, he didn't know what it was. And the guy hit him back on the radio and said apparently the highway's been blocked off by the sheriffs because someone saw a Bigfoot run across the highway. And it went over the radio, and that somebody saw this being standing by the road, and he, not my buddy, but the other guy, I guess he was explaining the call that went over the radio. So you'd be surprised what kind of stuff goes over paranormal crap that'll go over police radio, or county radios that you just wouldn't know about.
Yep.
Like that situation. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's actually, there was a
whatever
guy.
It was, there were ended up being two military helicopters that popped up and were combing the forest area around the highway and had the highway blocked off for whatever reason.
Huh. Wow, that's pretty intense. Yeah, you don't know, it's it's very interesting. And speaking of that, that's crazy that military helicopters, because today I was heading up to the store to get some things ready for my trip for this Conjuring house, and my daughter and I are going north. Now, the only thing north from here is the Adirondack, deeper in, we're at the foothills.
Right.
And I hear this thump, the helicopter thumping, and I'm like, huh. And I kind of peek my head over to the side, off the driver's side, and look out, and I'm like, that's a military helicopter. You can always tell a military helicopter. They're very slender, long, and very fast. This helicopter went straight north. There are no airports that way. The only other airport is in Albany, which is south, or our local airport, which is to the east. This is going straight north. It goes up and it veers to the west just a little and then cuts back north. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing up there? It was just came out of nowhere. And that's something, I've lived here all my life. I know there's no military base up there.
Dude, they be out there. They're out there being busy. They're up to something.
Yeah,
Usually, I tend to think that when you see stuff like that, which I've seen it a few times in life, where you see a military helicopter flying and with a searchlight, going over the forest. Like, what are they looking for?
Yeah. And this was that sandy kind of, brown. It wasn't black. It was just like, the olive kind of sandy brownish green, color. It was hauling. And I remember, my daughter picked up on it. She goes, that thing's moving, and for a 14-year-old to, for that to register with a 14-year-old girl who doesn't like you know what I mean, like men and boys like helicopters, unless you're a female pilot or something, but she, for that to register, that really struck me as odd. It was cool. I love helicopters anyway, but just to see it fly that way, and it had something off to the left side. It didn't look like something like an extension or something. I really couldn't make it out because it was high and it was flying fast, but it was pretty weird. And then to veer west and then head back north was, and that made me wonder, hey, what's going on up there?
You never know. And a lot of times you'll think it's the military, and it's one of these no-name organizations that, like, don't have a name.
Yeah.
I've heard stories, about government organizations that come in when, somebody, gets mauled by something and it might be questionable. They, guess have their ways of removing evidence.
Being an animal control officer, that brings me to a question for you, if you don't mind. While you were on duty as an animal control officer, let's say a guy is mauled. You can't figure out, are you guys called to look first, or how does that work?
So,
like you don't know if it's a dog, cat, big cat, whatever.
See, like in the part of Ohio I'm at, like it's mostly city. We have country, but the bear, like we don't have bears really. There's no bear. Like I told you about that one, and it's like a rare thing if like a bear might cross the state line or something like that. Yeah. And I did see a mountain lion one time, and that was just a fluke.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be out there, so.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if you knew, like, if there was like a protocol to it, because, that's what I've been looking into.
I feel like so a person being murdered, the police would have showed up, and they, probably would have had the crime scene investigators just, find out what's going on with it. The only way they would have called us is if they knew the animal was still on the scene.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, the animal still running around.
Yeah.
And in that case, like, I don't know if you ever heard of the show on Animal Planet called Animal Cops.
No.
But we've helped out we've actually been on that show before too.
Okay.
But we've helped out, like, because a lot of the animal control, some of them don't have a doctor on standby that can, you know, because, you know, when you use it like a dart gun, for instance, there were like times where we've had to, like, I remember there was a time where we had to go somewhere to shrink a deer that had a bucket stuck on its head or something like that.
All right.
Had to shrink it to get the bucket off its head.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was like a certain procedure of how that worked or not.
Nah, they mostly would be the police that would be there. The only way that, like I said, the only way they would call us is if they thought the animal was still on the scene.
Okay.
But there, you know, then a lot of times though, there are situations where, if there was a situation where they didn't know that there was a body, you know, and we stumbled across it, then, you know, we would take care of the animal side of it, whatever
Right.
animal aspect of it is. And sometimes, you know, even depending on the situation, you know, we even might have to contact the game warden, you know, depending on what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of big cats, you had shared something with me earlier.
Oh yeah.
Do you mind sharing that?
Sure. It was West County, way out in the country kind of area of the town I worked in, and I heard it go over the radio. It was like it was actually a sheriff who went over the radio. He was saying that, or he got dispatched. He got dispatched out to this location for a bunch of people in distress or something, and he went out there, and then I heard him go over the radio saying, "Yeah, I got eyes on some kind of big, really big black cat. It's big." And I'm like, all right. And then, of course, you know, I said, well, I'll respond out there. I get on the scene, and of course, it's gone, whatever it was. But the thing that, the whole time I'm thinking, like, oh, it's probably just a big old mastiff, a big old goofy dog out there running around scaring these people, you know. If I get out there, there's like 20 people standing outside their houses, all saying they saw a very big cat. Like, you know, a jaguar, but the way a lot of the people were explaining it was bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't know what,
like bear-sized or whatever.
It was absolutely humongous, whatever it was, and it was just stalking around backyards, and it scared people so bad. You know, there were some people. I mean, this is kind of the country, so it was, you know, there was people standing out with their shotguns, you know.
Yeah.
Because whatever this thing was, it had people spooked. I never heard anything else about it, but that was an interesting call.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, when you shared that with me, it just...
I wish I would have saw it. You know, the sheriff saw it, and he was like, it was too dark, but it was definitely humongous.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We're coming up on time, on recording time. I want to talk to you for a few minutes after we end the recording, so don't hang up. Is there anything that you'd like to kind of share with the audience before we end the interview?
Guess I could say, you know, when it comes to like Dogman people, that thing is, it's, for the way it's been explained to me, it's as intelligent as a person with your dog's instincts. These things, you know, they're very cunning. And maybe I'll share a story, one day, another day with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got to share for now.
Awesome. Well, it was awesome having you on. I appreciate you you sending me your encounter, and like you said, you got a couple other little things that you want to share. We can set up a date. Don't hang up. I do want to talk to you before.
All right.
But it was great having you on. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day, my friend. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, guys. What a really great interview. I had a lot of fun talking with Hannibal before, during and after. He did at the end state that he had a Dogman experience in Tennessee. He shared that with me privately in Tennessee in the Great Smokies. So after my trip to the Conjuring House, while I'm working on the editing of that couple videos, I will be doing that interview with Hannibal as well. Looking forward to it. Super nice guy. Had a great time. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And with that, thank you for all your support. May the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that, well, we call life.